Hey, Geekscape, I'm sitting here with Bill Rehor and Matt Lillard. Hey, Bill, I don't know if that's how you pronounce your name. Is that right?
Nailed it, man.
Did I really?
That. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Feeling. I got one down. They've got this brand new show. It's going on this channel, Dungeons and Dragons Adventures. It's called Faster Purple Worm Kill, like the Russ Meyer type of Faster Pussycat thing. But you guys have this show, and it fans of something like Critical Role, right, where people get around and they do kind of long form role play. Release it as a podcast, release it as in front of an audience, release it. It's kind of for that kind of audience. But your twist is it's a bunch of first level adventures up against one of the like bigger badasses in the D&D universe. Is that right?
That's 100% right. And every episode ends with every character dying. 100% of the time, no questions. So so that's the gag. But what it does is it allows us to tell a D&D story in an hour format, and every episode is a standalone episode because everybody died in the last episode, so you don't need to have watched 1 through 7 in order to watch episode 8. It's its own story, its own DM, its own cast, and so that's the format.
We're the SVU of Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, you guys actually have a lot of former Geekscape like guests and friends on it. Like, it's almost surprising, Matt, that you haven't been on Geekscape, because everybody from Jamie Kennedy to Will Wheaton, people like that have been on Geekscape in one form or another. So we're going to get you in, and maybe we'll get you in after the actor strike is over, so we can ask you more about acting.
Sure.
But today, Geekscape, I know you all submitted a bunch of questions on the Facebook Geekscape Forever group. If we can't answer your questions because of the ongoing SAG strike, we're not going to answer your questions. We'll just say next. But we will be talking a lot of D&D. I've seen the first episode of Faster Purple Worm Kill. It's a lot of fun, and I got to tell you, as much as I love the geek celebrity guests in every episode, can we talk about your DM? Like, this is one of your partners at Beadle and Grimm's, your tabletop role-playing company. And what's his name? He's amazing.
John Ciccolini is his name. And yes, he is amazing.
I cannot believe. Dude, don't tell him, Bill. Do not tell him.
Please don't ever let him see this. It'll go to his head.
We cannot let him know how good he is.
Well, John, like, I think he has the toughest gig, right? Because everybody can just kind of have fun, do voices, play in character, this and that. He's got to keep it going at a clip. Yep. And like you said, these episodes, Geekscapists, are under an hour long, and he has a narrative to not only push, keep engaging, and also to wrap up at the end. Especially since we all kind of know how it's going to end, they have to keep it entertaining. So I actually think, John, as I'm watching this thing, I'm like, I'm just going to keep flooding you guys with stuff that I guess he can't hear if your relationship is not going to be compromised. But I'm going to predict that, as wonderful as you guys are, John's going to be the star of the show.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Ooh, wow. Well, here's the good news. Thank God. The best thing for us is that every single cast is different. Every single DM is different. He does DM more than anyone else. But every time we think he's going to get full of his own britches, we yank him off the show. So, he's sort of the core of our. I mean, we started because John brought his books to acting school. Like, the four of us would. I love it when the computer does that. By the
Dude,
way.
Isn't that crazy? We've been talking about it on a few different Geekscapes where the OS. You have to do double, Maddie. You have to do double.
Is that what it is?
It's double devil horns, and there it is. You get a laser light show, and then I think double thumbs up. You get that. Yeah. As the Geekscapists know, I discovered that when I was on Zoom with my therapist, which is probably.
I promise you that somewhere in there is an incredibly disturbing combination of gestures and reaction that nobody's discovered yet.
Oh, Bill, you can't actually give the okay simple anymore, or else you get a bunch of Trump slogans in the back. That's a canceled slogan, man. You can't.
No way.
He's like, what do I get for this? I'm like, just a bunch of January 6th imagery. All right, back to I've been doing Geekscape since 2005. People know my politics. All right, so continue.
It's so good. That's funny. This is the first for us today as we've done our radio and TV tour. So look, John brought his books to acting school. We all sat around and were like, why do you have your D&D books at acting school? You're 22 years old. And that's when we started playing. We've been playing ever since. We started Beadle and Grimm's out of like a midlife crisis, this lovely low midlife crisis. We all had kids, we all had careers and families, and we just wanted to do something creative together. And we started Beadle and Grimm's, and out of Beadle and Grimm's, out of this need to sort of expand the brand, like we wanted to get out and find people. We wanted people to find our brand and sort of be able to grow the company. And we thought that streaming was a good way to go. And we came up with this idea of Faster Purple Worm, which we're really excited about.
But you guys have also gone to conventions like Gen Con. I know you guys have an upcoming date here in December with PAX. It's a special kind of PAX. It sounds like a PAX Unplugged or something like that.
Yeah.
In Geekscape, I know that they're doing a live Faster Purple Worm Kill up there. You can actually, if you have a PAX Unplugged pass, you can just be a part of it, but first come, first served. Yeah. You don't need a special ticket to be a part of the live show and in the audience.
And by the way, John
go ahead.
is DMing that live show at PAX, so
he doesn't have to after this conversation. Y'all can shake it up.
We may now have to take it away from him.
Yeah, you might have to ankle him.
Yeah, all of a sudden we're gonna have like his agent's gonna call, and
I think he needs more money, guys. Just nerf him a little bit. I mean, isn't that his job?
This interview's over. We gotta stop this interview. He's gonna ruin everything, Bill. We gotta get out of here.
But you guys aren't the only partners in Beadle and Grimm's. Like, you guys have two other partners, correct?
Yes.
Are they a part of the
show? Say about them.
Yeah, really. What, you're gonna get to give them both raises too now?
Can I get the rest of the episodes so I can promote the other guys? And I mean, at the end of the day, y'all are still putting out modules. Y'all are still putting out campaigns for various, iterations of the D&D stuff. Like, ultimately, you guys are going to be swapping all sorts of different roles, and we're going to be playing some of the creatures from your modules, I'm guessing. Spoilers.
Oh, you're talking about on the Faster Purple Worm?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of DMs. We do movies, video games, comic books, and a lot of tabletop on this show. But I feel, and I've met with the folks over at D&D about what they're looking for. Our friend Sujata Day has a show coming out on it, Geekscape, and you guys can watch it on Freevee and Plex coming up November 13th, Geekscape. But all that to say, like, y'all are publishers who now have a pretty awesome platform for also kind of pushing some of the Beadle and Grimm stuff. I know you have to be diplomatic about it, but like, we're going to see y'all starting to pull stuff out of your own Beadles and Grimm's stories, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, one of the things that we're doing is, we have a Kickstarter right now. So, listen, as a company, it's been exciting. We've been growing. All, 4 of the 5 of us have left our day jobs. I'm an actor. I'll never leave my day job. I have the best day job in the world. But 4 of the 5 founders work full-time for the company. And within that, we're expanding in this incredible way. One of the things we're excited about is that we've got Kickstarter right now called Ring of Chaos. We funded in the first 36 minutes. It goes for another 26 days. So, that's something, the show's obviously a big deal for us, but developing our own game, our first board game, personally, we did it in-house. That's like an exciting thing. We're also expanding different IPs. So we do a lot of stuff with Dungeons and Dragons. We do stuff with Critical Role, Pathfinder, Magic the Gathering. But one of the things we're doing is we're starting to gather new IP that, that we're really excited about and do different things and sort of branch out and diversify a little, which is exciting as a company and as people. Like, it's, we just did 20 episodes of TV. Now we did a video, a new board game. Like, so we're constantly changing. We're constantly being engaged and taking on new challenges that we're excited about.
And I mean, I want to invite you guys to LA Comic Con to do that, but y'all, it's the same weekend as the PAX Unplugged. So just send John. Just send John. I mean, that being said, like, y'all have had presences, Geekscape. They've had a presence at San Diego Comic-Con. Y'all did a panel about creating this stuff. And I mean, for Matt, it's a great way to like survive this strike in all this. But do y'all have, I mean, when you're talking about creating your own rule sets and maybe expanding a little bit of a new type of gameplay, as we might see if you Geekscapists follow Beadle and Grimm on their socials and all that to see what's coming down the pipe from them, as you're kind of pushing and pulling this game that I think all of us here on this conversation have been playing since middle school, at least speaking for myself, like, what are some of the things you're discovering? Are you finding that certain versions of editions of Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder are lending themselves a little bit more to what you want to celebrate as a player? Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
What are your favorites for playing?
I mean, I think it's not news to say that 5th edition kind of found that a really great balance of depth and accessibility, and I think that lended itself to a lot of the growth of D&D in particular and role-playing games in general, of sort of opening the game up to new people, and also keeping some of the core complexity and depth that players like us who have been playing since back in the Gary Gygax days really want and crave. And it's just, you know, I know it's sort of the standard now, but it is a really remarkably strong system. But one of the great things that I think people are starting to realize is that role-playing games are really just the vehicle to get a group of people around a table to have a great time together. And the rules and the setting are in some ways secondary to that. And there are lots of different ways to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. And so, you know, people are trying out new things and expanding what's possible. And all of that is great. And it's great for the community in general.
One of the great things about the show is that we continually, you know, we have 20 episodes and each episode's different. It's a different collection of players. Like I said, different DM, different story. And so what we see is that the show kind of becomes a love letter to Dungeons and Dragons, and is really like an onboarding tool for people to see how a game can be played, see people having fun. It's easy, it's it's rules light. And we're hopeful that people come out, find it, and fall in love with the show, but at the same time fall in love with Dungeons and Dragons as a way to sort of spend the life.
And maybe fall in love with John? I'm just really pushing that button. I'm pushing that button, guys. I'm sorry.
Every time.
I love you guys. But I have some questions for the Geekscapists. If I don't think I've kind of already went through them, Geekscapists, and if they're a little too heavy on Matt's acting career, I've sidestepped them. But people say Benjamin Snyder over on Geekscape Forever, the Facebook group, says, "What are your favorite D&D classes and archetype?"
Well, for me, go ahead. Do you want to go?
No, please.
For me, it's Druid. I love playing a Druid. I like having something that's connected to something that's very personal that people that the character cares about, and can also do other things. Like, I'm not a big fan of like just doing heavy damage. I like doing like cool moves. Our gameplay is very much about like cool moves, and our DM John, the greatest DM ever.
I'm going to tell Matt Mercer that.
Yeah. No, that's all right. I'm
going to tell Jonathan G. Nelson, who's on Geekscape. I'm going to tell Matt Mercer that. We got tons of people we're going to tell about that now. I love John. John, I'm in your camp.
John,
continue.
But, but we're all 4 of the 5 of us are actors. So we do these like grand moves, and that's performative. And I like the idea that a druid can do cool moves rather than just a bunch of damage. That's
How about you, Bill?
What I find is that sort of subconsciously, my characters end up being one of two things. They either end up being people who are a lot like me, or they end up being somebody who is the... Hi, Emmy.
I love Geekscapists who are listening to this on the podcast. So Bill's dog has entered the chat.
Sorry, my golden retriever has been asleep in my feet this whole time, and she woke up. So they end up either being very much like me, or they end up being the exact opposite of me. So like one of the characters that I had the most fun with is Grimm, who was the character who inspired the name of our company now. Matt was Beadle and I was Grimm in a campaign run by John Ciccolini, the world's greatest dungeon master. And
T-shirts will be made, Geekscape. There will be T-shirts at Beadle and Grimm.
And Grimm was this very huge, loud, boisterous barbarian. This really powerful, braggart and adventurer and just wild, uncontrolled kind of creation. And that is so not me as a human that I had a fantastically fun time playing that guy, and that he'll always have a warm place in my heart.
Well, Geekscape, again, the show is called Faster Purple Worm Kill. If y'all have Freebie and Plex, it's one of those channels that you just gotta maybe it was already on your smart TV when you bought it. Either way, there's definitely information online where you were going to go and search for Freebie and Plex, because both those channels, there's a lot of Freebie going on right now. I hear about that channel or that service a lot. But it's premiering November 13th, and it's a lot of fun. And again, I love seeing, we've been doing Geekscape for 18 years, so I love seeing all of the friendly geeks that I know from conventions or from moderating panels or from being right here on the podcast there. Geekscape, I did solicit some more questions for Matt, and y'all definitely showed up. Here are some that I think I've kind of filtered for to get around the strike, because we can't just talk about struck properties right now. Matt is a SAG actor, and that stuff violates some of the stuff. Well, as a filmmaker, I'm like, hey man, I want to get back to work too. Yeah. I'm sitting here can I go back to work now? Yeah. But Geekscape, y'all are benefiting from that because y'all are getting a slew of episodes. It's been psycho. If this is your first Geekscape, go back in the feed. There's a lot of great episodes that I've done in the last few months. All right, Logan Pop from I think our horror movie night group says, he wants to know what it's like working on SLC Punk. I love that movie. It's seminal. But really, he wants to know if you listen to punk at all.
I don't. I had a very dear friend named Rob D, who unfortunately took his own life 2 years ago. So if you ever need help, seek help, find help. There's people out there that love you, and the trail of devastation you leave behind is horrible. So find help. But Rob D, best man at my wedding, was a very hardcore punk rocker in high school. And so I got carried to many a show between Dead Kennedys and Government Issue and all these punk rock shows. I wasn't really, I was more of a hip hop guy, but he was my boy. So I had a roll on his 6 to Fender's Ballroom in Orange County.
I love it. And Geekscape I got to tell you, the outpouring of love for having Matt on the show, y'all really again showed up. But what Matt's saying is true. Don't get caught up in a moment. Okay. There have been so many, life is hard. So Geekscape, if you need to reach out, heck, you guys know my email, jonathan@geekscape.net. I get DMs from you guys and all sorts of stuff. We get pretty personal here on Geekscape. So listen to what Matt said, do not get caught up in a moment, and these things pass. You just have to breathe through it. Definitely find help. All right, George Pepe, somebody I know from punk bands, said, can you ask him for a Hackers 2? Listen, that's a struck property, Geekscape, but listen, can I ask him? Yes. Can he deliver?
That there is a movement afoot for sequels to be made to all kinds of movies. That may be one of them.
Okay, then I'm going to ask for a Wing Commander.
Oh, gosh. What is the matter with you? First Canadian, now Wing Commander?
So somebody said, so here's the thing with the Wing Commander. As a PC kid in middle school, high school, I loved Chris Roberts. And I grew up in Austin. So Origin and all that, Ultima and Wing Commander, there was no better studio until I discovered Monkey Island. But there was no greater studio to me than the stuff coming out of Origin. And those Wing Commander games, Mark Hamill, to me, is from Wing Commander, and what's his name from when I met him at our zombie convention back in 2011 up in Seattle, I was like, Admiral Tallwin, and he's like, is that a Wing Commander reference? And I was just like, okay, I'm a big Wing Commander fan. And I will not besmirch you, whatever that movie was. Let's run it back. Let's run it back. Shout out to Wing Commander
This
fans.
is the first person to ever ask for that.
Chris Roberts says that he won't. That was one of my favorite game franchises in middle school, high school, and I mean I saw the movie and it was a movie.
There you go.
Christopher Robinson says, longtime Geekscape, he always watches the live show. He says, how does he feel? How does Matt feel? And maybe I can ask this question to you as well. How do you feel being a queer? What is this question? Let me find the question. He says, how does he feel being a queer sex fashion icon? Did you know you were one?
I did not know that.
That's really the question, Christopher.
So how does it feel just now?
I literally clutched my pearls. I don't think I am that, but look, having queer kids, anytime if I can be a piece, if I can be an icon for any kid out there, wherever they're living on the gender spectrum, on the queer spectrum, if I can be some kind of like any kind of bastion of hope or love or respect or strength, then I'm all for it. I don't think anyone should ever consider my fashion in any way, shape, or form. But if that's what they need, I'm there for it.
I don't control my audience. I don't control them. I don't control what y'all do, Geekscapists. Right. I don't. When I saw that question, I said, maybe this is something I wasn't aware of, but I'll throw it to y'all. I mean, maybe it was for you, Bill.
I'm sure that's what it was. Yes. I was trying to stay quiet, but obviously the question was meant for me.
Up to this
great popularity
point, Geekscape, what Bill's not telling you is that the reason he had a golden retriever on his feet is he's not wearing anything beneath his t-shirt. You just can't see it.
I'm actually quite chilly now.
He is. He was using his golden retriever to warm himself, his feet at least, because when he finishes this interview, he's got to get back to his other gig as a queer sex icon, which I think is. I think that's fantastic.
Get paid for that? Can you get paid for that?
There's other payments. It's not all currency. It's not all green dollars. The rewards come in. You all know this. Y'all are gamers. The rewards come in different shapes and sizes. Sometimes the work is rewarding enough. Have you ever done? Now this is Brian Coker, I think, in South Carolina. He is a theater person, so this is not struck work. This is theater. And you guys are both actors. Theater work. Like my wife did a theater show over the last couple weeks. Like, what about theater? Are you guys big into theater? Anything you're interested in there? Have you done it before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, we met at theater school, so we
had a theater company.
We started a theater company coming out of theater school. That was our first sort of creative venture, and it was not nearly as successful as Beadle and Grimm's, but it did start us on this path of collaborating, and John Ciccolini, the inventor of D&D, was part of that group.
The greatest D&D ever. The greatest
ever. So I mean, it was a very short-lived thing, but it did serve the purpose of sort of establishing that pattern of how we're all going to work together to create things. So it's all good. I clearly have to let my dog out. Yeah,
let your dog out. And honestly, Bill, thank you so much for that act. And honestly, guys, like as we talked about, like success is not an upward kind of. I mean, without that theater group, there's probably none of this.
Listen, the reality is that theater. The great thing about that is that through success and failure, you put a date on a calendar, you build towards that. You fight, you struggle, you raise money, you win, you lose. All of those things are such incredibly rich interpersonal, grounds for success going forward. It's incredible. We fight all the time, but because all of us have been friends for 20 plus years, 30 plus years, there's a way to sort of understand that we love each other, and that it's just part of the process.
Yeah. And ultimately, this will lead to a season where y'all simply LARP the whole time.
Oh,
Yeah.
you have no idea how close you are. no idea. No idea how close.
Us out in the woods. Yeah,
Guys,
naked
there's a
from the waist
chance
down.
for an annual
So-
LARPing from Beadle and Grimm's.
guys, I just want Geekscape to be an invite. I want to be there. I just want to meet
Or are
John.
you going to participate?
Listen, whatever John wants.
That's right,
I will tell you guys a crazy, real quick LARPing story, and then we'll wrap up. Is we do these video shorts every now and then, and as a gag, we had a adult actor named Evan Stone in one of them, and Evan Stone is, man, you know who he is, just trust me. And as we were wrapping up this funny little sketch that we were doing, this video, we were sitting in a comic book store where we were filming, and he goes, yeah, that's geek stuff is awesome, man. I love it. Listen, when I worked back in Dallas, I used to work over at Medieval Times, and I still have all that stuff, man. And we should go out in the woods and like LARP and stuff. And he was dead serious. He's like, if you guys are into this stuff,
Oh yeah.
like, and keep in mind, like, he kind of had the biggest sword of the bunch on that day, but ultimately he's like, if you guys are into this, man, we should all go out in the woods with like the stuff I took from Medieval Times. We should just go.
That's how people end up buried.
Yeah. we had a thing in John Ciglini's brother, greatest DM in the history of time.
Mhm.
John's brother Rob runs a LARP in New England role-playing organization in New England, and the four of us went out one time, and we were playing as NPCs, and we played as a group of goblins, and we thought it'd be really funny to sort of go out in the middle of the night and raise chaos. And there was a huge tent, right? This sort of tent in the middle of this campground, and we LARPed all weekend. But we were like goblins, and nobody, it was like 2 a.m, and nobody was on guard. Nobody's taking a watch. So we thought it'd be funny if all four of us got on corners and pulled the stakes at the same time. So we did that, and people come screaming out. There was a fire going on inside the tent. There was like a whole steam pipe thing going on, and we pulled the stakes, and they were like, what the F are you doing? Like we had to like back off because we almost got beat out for being the best goblins ever.
Like an infusion of oxygen is probably not good in that situation.
No,
either.
Yeah, and also canvas collapsing into a lit fire.
It
Yeah,
was
also.
so bad. It was not
Well,
good.
guys, Geekscape, you know your mission. You're going to go watch this show, Faster, Purple Worm, Kill.
Please.
You know where to find it. It premieres again Monday, November 13th on Freevee and Plex. I really appreciate you guys being here, and I would love to have you guys back at any time, promote anything, and obviously I want you guys back after we resolve this SAG strike, because my wife is like, ask him to say zoinks for me, and I'm like, not appropriate. Not appropriate.
No,
next time.
Not right now.
Next time, baby.
What I want.
Now we have something to look forward to.
Your dog's in the other room going, I'm like, no.
Nah.
Bye, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Bye, Geekscapers. Goodbye.